Hades 2 is coming to early access, and the game's developer Supergiant's first sequel is really freaking good. I adored the original Hades, and after putting about 30 hours into this one, I'm happy to report that I think it might already be better. Let's get into it in our in-progress review of the early access release of Hades 2. Hades 2 features a new protagonist, Melinoe. She is Zagreus' sister and a powerful witch. The game's setup is understandably quite different from the first, because in that one, you were playing as Zagreus, who had to go through the underworld up to the surface, defeat his father Hades 10 times, and that's how you saw the story through. In the end, the family was reunited, and in between titles, Hades and Persephone, his wife, had another child, that being our protagonist. The Titan Kronos, Hades' father, though, has now broken free and taken over the underworld. Melinoe was the only one to escape, brought to the crossroads by the Titan Hecate, and kept in secret as she trained for decades to defeat her grandfather. As the game starts, you begin your journey from the crossroads as you attempt to reach the underworld and kill Kronos. It's a fun change from how Zagreus was always attempting to go up and reach the surface, though there are more paths in this sequel, which after 30 hours I'm yet to unlock, and one of them looks like it goes up. Melinoe is a Night Sister witch, and thus she deals with a few different gods than her brother did. The writing, voice acting, and music are all top-notch, and even though this is early access, the game's already fleshed out more than most full releases. There's more choice, more numbers to go up, and way more things to unlock. That is the core of Hades 2's biggest improvements. You'll craft spells, empower yourself in the Crossroads camp, plant seeds to gain items for crafting and spell work, offer up gifts to all around you, unlock weapons, trinkets, boons, paths, and tools. It all feels so goddamn good. Melinoe also has a vastly different weapon setup than Zagreus did, though overall the gameplay does feel similar. Playing on a PC, as the game is unlikely to hit console until version 1.0 hits at some point in 2025, I averaged roughly 600 frames per second on my pretty good gaming rig. I actually ended up playing mostly on my Lenovo Legion Go, getting either a locked 120 FPS in performance mode, or setting it to a locked 60 when I was only using a mere 15 watts of power. Hades 2 is a lean, mean machine. Combat is nicely varied with some lightning-fast weapons and other powerfully weighty ones. Your starting weapon, though, is a staff, though you'll quickly unlock daggers, axes, skulls, and more. Supergiant Games has stated that they want to add one more weapon type to the game before 1.0 launches as well. For all weapons, X is your melee and Y is your ranged ability. Holding down either one will then cast a more powerful attack that uses up your mana. At first, mana doesn't regenerate, though you can quickly unlock Arcana cards, which let it do so, or you'll find boons mid-run that do the same. The right trigger is used to cast your Hex, which must be unlocked each run by talking with Selene, goddess of the moon. There's also a tool system that forces you to choose which items you'll farm on a particular run. There's a shovel to get seeds, which grow over a set number of levels completed, but there's also a pickaxe, which I use most of the time as it lets you mine ore and is necessary for crafting new weapons. Each zone has unique resources to gather, and it's another choice that adds a lot to the feeling of progression. For anyone who played the original, you know the setup of how runs work when it comes to boons and lesser buffs. The new system is the Arcana. It's a series of cards that give passive buffs and work on an energy system called Grasp. You will need one item to unlock cards, another to upgrade your maximum grasp, and another to empower each card. Also, as you progress through the surprisingly large number of cards, you'll need boss items and other various things found during runs to unlock cards, and it's a fantastic power curve to chase. I mostly focused on empowering my casts and doing what I could to maximize how quickly I could regen mana. Every run, though, is randomized chaos in which various rooms appear, shaping your build as you make a generally binary choice of, do I want to go for, say, a Zeus boon or the extra HP reward, as an example. There's a nice variety to the looks and feels of each of the game's main stages, with one more location promised to be added before full launch. Combat just feels fantastic. It's faster and more responsive than the first game somehow. Higher frame rates generally do mean lower input latency, so I hope they do include 120 FPS mode on consoles. The game's pretty difficult, and it's never cheap though, because enemies will give you a nice large wind-up on their attacks, and whenever I died, which was often, I knew it was because I made a mistake and not because the game cheated me in any way. Supergiant is known for its excellent writing, voiceover work, and music, and they are all the best they've ever done in Hades 2. It can be tough to believe that this is an early access launch, as the vast amount of high-quality, fully voiced-over writing is as good as anything they've ever done before. Melinoy is immediately likable, with a chip on her shoulder as she desperately attempts to save the family she never really got to know. Side characters and gods all have distinct personalities, with voices and character designs that match things well. Hecate and Selene are two of my favorites, as Melinoy's main teacher and source of strength. The game does a great job of slowly but surely introducing new gods, titans, and other varied characters as you progress. Every time your health reaches 0, instead of just dying like Zagreus does, Melinoy casts a spell to safely transport herself back to the crossroads. How witchcraft works and the decades in hiding are key plot points, as your family on Olympus really had no clue you had survived Kronos' takeover of the underworld. And Hades 2 remains a rather horny game, like with Aphrodite saying to hell with all clothing and barely covering herself with hair in her cutscene artwork. Also, eventually, you'll unlock a spring bath and get to see lots of half-nude portraits as Melinoy and those around her discuss things. I love it personally because it makes sense in this plot, setting, and writing all playing off it well, and America's influence on being super prudish is something I'll never truly get, despite being born and living here my entire life. Wrapping things up, Hades 2 Early Access launch is better than I could have imagined. If this was version 1.0, it would already be better than like 95% of games launched in the past decade. As is, they've said they'll be working on the full launch through the end of 2024 at the least. If you enjoyed Hades, then know that the sequel is somehow already even better.